Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? Take heed that no man deceive you, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences. All these are the beginning of sorrows. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
Purim is I wish we would have made Haman's ears. Maybe we'll bring him next week or something. But and all around Israel today, there's the name of Haman being shouted out, and people booing and shouting and making noise under seats because let his name be blotted out. So let's try one time. This wicked man named Haman. That's right. That's right. And you would let his name be blotted out. And ultimately, they have wonderful food, and the kids dress up like Queen Esther, the girls Queen Esther, and the little boys Mordecai. And it's a wonderful period of time. And like I said earlier, it celebrates God's deliverance through Queen Esther and Mordecai from an antichrist, a real antichrist, Haman, who wanted to destroy the Jewish people on a certain day. It was a decree that King Ahasuerus had signed, and they were going to decree to destroy all the Jewish people in all parts of the kingdom. But God intervenes. Remember the great story, Queen Esther? Mordecai challenges her because she's afraid, and he says, who knows if this is why you have come into the kingdom? This is the reason why you were brought into the kingdom for such a time as this, right? And it's interesting because it goes with Daniel. They were both in the same locale, in a sense. Daniel was in Babylon, and it has switched to the Medo-Persian Empire, and then now Queen Esther later on is in the Medo-Persian Empire, and they both talk about the kingdoms. Both talk about the kingdoms, and we're both challenged to do something in their place in the kingdom. And I've always looked at that in relation to like the book of Matthew, where he talks about the kingdom, the gospel of the kingdom. You have come into the kingdom. Well, tell you what, you and I have come into the kingdom for such a time as this. And just like there was an antichrist by the river Euphrates challenging the Jewish people at the time, I can tell you what, there are many antichrists today by the same river wanting to destroy the Jewish people. Some of them are in Congress. Some of them are head of the Democratic Party today that want to destroy the Jewish people. Not much have changed. I see Esther's and I see Mordecai's for such a time as this. Who knows? Maybe that's why God brought you into the kingdom, for such a time as this. But we have to take a stand, though, right? It can't just be by proxy. It can't just be like, well, Sam's going to step into the kingdom for me. No, I have to do it. I have to be involved in it. So just very quick today. I don't think we have so much to share, but just concentrated. So much is happening in the world and in our own nation. You can go to the scriptures today. It is unbelievable. Like I sit in front of my computer and I go, am I just seeing things where it's just so obvious and so clear sometimes? I feel like just opening the window and just shouting out and go, don't you say it? But then again, there was I many years ago. Nation against nation, said the Lord, kingdom against kingdom. And that word nation is literally the word in Greek for ethnic people groups against people groups. And in our own state, in our United States, there's plenty of nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom in the world, in our states. I thought this was interesting because this is what's happening in our border today. There's an emergency in our borders, and very few people are paying attention to the ethnos, the war, ethnos against ethnos, kingdom against kingdom, ethnic people against ethnic people. This is one of those little children who were separated from their parents, says the Democrats. Very much gang members coming through. And we're not going to talk about Mr. Candidate for 2020 who's pro late-term abortion, as he's been asked. And every week I see the Democratic Party just continually to head down to Nowheresville and to Gehenna very, very quickly. Introducing things regarding the Green New Deal, that they're setting it up. No meat on Monday in New York City school districts. says Mayor de Blasio. Meatless Mondays reduces greenhouse emissions. So no steak for you on that day. No meat for you on that day. Meatless Mondays. And of course, all the greenhouse fans shouted in joy because there'll be no meat on New York City on that day. Of course, now, look, if you want to give up food, meat for that day or something like that, you want to be a vegetarian, have fun with it, be on your own. But it should not be imposed by the state who wants to control everything. I also have my own opinion about Fox News. Don't watch it. They have fallen off the rail. They have fallen off a precipice. Who would ban Judge Janine, who, in my opinion, speaks the truth in a lot of cases? She speaks right on that, what I would agree with, and was going to say the right things about Omar the Terrible, and replaced by Donna Brazile, at one time head of the Democratic Party, who was under investigation because of the super delegates that they pulled off and stole the candidacy from Bernie Sanders, the nomination from Bernie Sanders. But then there's Fox News, who for a long time, run by the Murdoch family, were very much Hillary supporters for many, many years. But then again, it continues. Now, this is the Democratic Socialist Party. This is not the four horsemen of the apocalypse. I don't want you to misunderstand that one. These are not the four horsemen of the apocalypse, the different ones. However, they might as well be. Now it's come out that what they call AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, comes out and she's simply an actress. She's simply an actress. She just was put in there. At bat one at that, maybe some acting lessons, but it is now have been put out, and many factual things, that there are people much more dangerous than her behind her. She's basically just won on an acting casting. There you go, a casting call, and she got the part. The people behind her, much more sinister, much more dangerous. And I'll show you a little video. This is again the DNC party. This is some of the young people in the DNC party. And this is in 2017, the same group that Ms. Cortez was a part of. Now, this is a vote that they took in 2017 regarding some of the platforms for the Democratic Party. And if just listen to what they take a vote regarding Israel, and look what they end up chanting. Oh, sorry. There we go.
All those in favor of the resolution, raise your voting cards. Thank you. All of those opposed? The motion carries. Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea. Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Well, the river is the river Euphrates, and the sea is the Mediterranean Sea. From the Euphrates River to the Mediterranean, Palestine will be free. They were voting on Israel. They were voting on if the DNC, the Democratic Party, was going to support Israel, or they're going to support some of these boycotts of Israel. Well, you see all these young Democrats there. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. They've been hinting at this. They were telling us about this for quite a few years. It shouldn't be a surprise that this is this is the kind of things that we see in the Democratic Party now. By the way, Ms. Cortez, regarding prayer and regarding the terrible things that happen in New Zealand, which I have my own opinion about that in a few minutes, I'll tell you. She says, what good are your thoughts and prayers anymore? How's that going to protect you? And it was in reference to people, saying thoughts and prayers are for this, whatever. And of course, she was referring to Christians, like thoughts and prayers. Like, what is that going to do? It's an interesting thing where the Democratic Party is going. But in New Zealand, after this event, Headscarf for Harmony, the Prime Minister of New Zealand has been wearing headpiece, hijab, for a while, the whole week, and he wants everybody to wear them on the 22nd. And so the elimination of Israel, the complacency and the placating of Islam. In fact, even in our own land, they won't allow Pamela Geller, who's an activist for girls in Islam, who wants girls to come out of Islam. They wouldn't let her post this in a billboard in Dallas, that out of all the honor killings that America has suffered, because we have honor killings in America, lots of them every year. Honor killings, basically, in Islamic families, they would kill the girl. Somebody would kill them from their own family if they become too westernized, or if they're dating a boy that, non-Muslim boy. And all these girls, this is documented evidence that they have been killed by the family. Now, because of Sharia law and the courts don't want to step in and mess everything up, and they want to keep placating the Muslims, they have not been indicted for it. Some of them, flew back to Saudi Arabia or wherever they came from. But they would not allow Pamela Geller to post this, to allow girls to contact somebody that can help them out of their dilemma, which is basically being raised in a conforming Sharia law home, which eventually would lead to their death, or they would do something to their bodies because of what Islam teaches. So much of that later on. Now, in the Korean Peninsula, just today, two B-52 bombers, left Guam to Japan, and they've been going around and around toward the area of North Korea and South Korea. And of course, Russia has responded, and they have sent their own military moving south into the Korean Peninsula. I'm not saying it's something inevitable, or I'm not saying something that is going to happen tonight, but it is saying that 30,000 feet above South Korea, something is happening, and they do believe that Kim Jong-un is going to try to test some of these missiles into Japan, over Japan, or into the ocean again, but they are very concerned tonight over that. It's not the only place that we are seeing wars and rumors of wars, because Iran and Russia said, Venezuela, if you got a problem, we're right here. We're going to defend you. Those big, bad Americans, they're not coming in. And of course, this is going to lead into a crisis, I believe, if it continues to ramp up this way. Now, the other crisis, and this is what we've been talking about since last week, the Golan Heights is heating up. The Golan Heights area of Israel, bound by Mount Hermon, is right up there, where Jesus was transfigured. It's the gateway into Syria on the road to Damascus, the same road that Paul went into in Acts 9. It's still there, heading that direction. The Golan Heights, it's a highly contested area. It does belong to Israel. And even our Senate says it belongs to Israel, and they're going to pass a vote in the Senate to recognize that land as Israel's land. Now, unfortunately, it's not the only ones who are claiming it. Syria's claiming it. Russia's claiming it as part of Syria. And so you're going to have a clash of civilizations there. Israel, Syria, Russia, America, all involved in what to do with the Golan Heights. That's the road to Damascus. Because ultimately, I believe that's where it's going. Just today, Syria, Iraq, and Iran held a meeting regarding that very area, because Iran is very much involved in buying up, the map again, that area, Quintana, and all that area just going towards Syria, all been buying up by Iranian money. They've been buying up all these little towns near the Euphrates River. As you get closer to Damascus, you get near the Euphrates River. They're buying up all these little towns in that area because they know that if Iran is going to head down the road toward Israel, they want to have a free way right into that area. So Syria, Iran, and Iraq holding meetings to what to do with this area that, of course, to me, is always going to be led to Damascus, which is Isaiah 17. Isaiah 17 sees this. In Isaiah 17, Isaiah saw something about Damascus being destroyed. Well, one interesting thing is Iran is conducting drone exercises. You know what the name of the mission is? Toward Jerusalem. Towards Jerusalem. That's the name of the mission for the drones. They're flying out of Damascus. Interestingly enough, will be a situation perhaps where Israel will have to preempt strike. I don't know. But most of Syria, especially in the area of Damascus, is being bought up, real estate, by Iran. Iran is using a lot of their money that we gave them through Obama and buying up, not only making weapons, but also buying up real estate in Syria and Damascus, which they believe will be the next trampoline into Israel. They don't have to go all the way from Tehran to Israel. Now they can go from Damascus to Israel. They have other avenues like Hezbollah and Hamas, terrorist groups. And to this, Netanyahu said, Mr. Trump, we need to meet. And in 2 weeks before the election, I believe it's probably 2 weeks, so there must have been, election is April 9th, so the week before, so not April Fool's, but something along the lines of that. There will be a meeting. Actually, Pompeo, our Secretary of State, arrived in Israel today to discuss Iran, Damascus, and the regional threat that Iran possesses. So this is going to come down to something. Now, God is in charge, and I've always made this caveat. God can make it go fast, or God can slow it down. He's got his hand on the seals. He's the only one that can open them, says Revelation. And many times we have come to circumstances that are just extraordinary, and you feel like it's going to happen anytime. It can't be hold on much longer. And then things kind of settle down a little bit. But then it picks up again. April 9th is the election in Israel. Netanyahu may not make it. Who knows? The attack on Tel Aviv last week, really, I believe, when those attacks happened and the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, attacked back into Gaza, it only re-strengthens the case that Netanyahu is the only guy that can really defend Israel. Now, many people blame him for a lot of things, but nonetheless, it only strengthens their case that Netanyahu is the right guy. Now, in the temple, and this is where it gets very interesting in terms of biblical prophecy as well. The issue is Golan Heights and Gaza, but you know where the tension is mostly now? It's in the temple, and it's not stopping. It used to be 15, 20 years ago, you see things in the temple every now and then. Not much. They had the third Intifada back in 2000 when the Muslims started rioting in the temple, but it was mainly on the outskirts of Jerusalem. It's now in the temple. It's now by the East Gate. On Sunday, the courts decided between Israel and Jordan, who is the keeper of the Temple Mount, we're going to close it down. Nobody can go up there. Well, this week, even tonight, well, today, morning for them, they would have been, the Muslims went to that area, went to the East Gate, to the Golden Gate, I should say, and they began to pray there because even though they were not allowed to go up there, they still challenged the motion. They said, this is invalid, it's worthless, we're going to go up to the temple. And of course, King Jordan, Abdullah of Jordan and Netanyahu have been meeting about what to do with the Temple Mount. And this is exactly what I believe is going to usher in a real call and a real need for temple reform, I guess you can call it. What to do with the temple? Who are we going to give it to? What days are we going to access this person? And the Muslims get it on Friday, Jews on Saturday. What happens to Christians on Sunday? Of course, the Pope's involved. But just this week, it is also tonight, Purim. Jews go up to the temple. Celebration. Lots of people go there. And guess what they have available, ready to go? The golden vessels, the silver trumpets, the menorah, the oil, the incense. And the article asked this question. It says, oh, this is kind of interesting. It's almost like they're ready to go. This is what the article says. Indeed, the plans to create a third temple in Jerusalem are well advanced, but who knew they were this much in advance? In addition to the vessels, they also have a red heifer who's being raised in an undisclosed location necessary for the purification of the Jewish people for the temple. An altar prepared can now be lifted up on a flatbed and delivered to the Temple Mount at a moment's notice. I'm just reading the article. It's almost like, do you know something? A registry of priests, Cohen Teams, those guys, list of candidates to lead the service in the temple, and bakers for the showbread unraveled the mystery of the showbread, the unique bread, the enigmatic shape that stood inside the temple. Oil for the menorah, the grain offering is already prepared in a painstaking manner mandated by the Jewish law. In fact, Rabbi Yisrael Ariel, founder of the Temple Institute, told the news that if the Jews today were given the opportunity to jumpstart the temple service, it would require 4 hours. 4 hours. Not building the temple, starting the temple services. Now remember, this is really, really interesting. This article is probably the most fascinating article I've read in probably a couple months, maybe a couple, more than 6 months, is the fact that Daniel says the Antichrist takes the last week of Daniel, 70th week of Daniel, and he makes a covenant. Sacrifice and offerings begin. And at the middle of the week, he stops sacrifices and offerings. Most people assume there has to be a temple to start it. I do believe there will be a temple there. I have no doubt that there will be one. But it's not required to start the temple sacrifices. Meaning that you can have a literal temple sacrificial system begin with the promise of a temple pretty much at any time, as long as they give the heads up. Everybody okay with it? Trump? Okay, good. You know, I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying European Union, Muslim groups, you guys are all good? Yep. And all it would take is 4 hours, says the Temple Institute, for us to restart the temple sacrificial system, the temple services, the table of showbread, the incense, the oil, obviously the red heifer will be for purification. It is almost as if Daniel says, yep, they're going to start it. 7 years, 3.5, they'll break it. And that's all they need. They need to just start the sacrificial system, because that's what the covenant is with. It's for, I should say. It's for the beginning of the sacrificial system. That can come at any time, in my understanding of it, because I just read the article that says, yeah, this article was surprised that the Jews are so far advanced into it. When they interview the rabbi, he says, oh yeah, we can do it in about 4 hours. I mean, we got the Cohen Teams, the priest guys, they're ready to go. Means that we're, how do I put this without sounding like a nut? Good to go. Okay, we're ready to go. Put it this way, it's only God's hand who's keeping this from happening. If it was up to the Jews, they would have done it already. But God's hand is still there waiting and restraining the Antichrist for coming on the scene and making this deal and making it happen. Do you realize how close we really are for seeing biblical things happening in front of our faces? By the way, they did this. This is fascinating too. They also have prepared what they call a Brit Olam, is a prayer book for non-Jews. Because remember, they're inviting everybody, Buddhists, Hindus, New Agers, Democrats, communists, whatever the case may be, to go and pray there. Because it's a temple for all nations, they say. Not what the prophets meant, but you can go worship there. And they said, well, we need to have some kind of prayer book to lead them into redemption, because they believe that they'll be redeemed by praying to the God of Israel. And they have this book already prepared for people like me and you. If we want to go up there and worship at the temple, they'll give you a little booklet with Jewish prayers about the temple. Of course, written by rabbis, but more or less, they want to make this happen. They're ready to go. Like Barbara said, just ready to go, just at any time. Now, move into censorship, because I did talk to a friend of mine today. What's going on in New Zealand is absolutely, I could not have predicted it. I mean, I knew about internet censorship and things like that happened, but New Zealand, since the attack at the mosque at Christ Church, have literally come down to they have blocked websites, blocked internet capabilities. There are websites you can't get to if you're in New Zealand. You can't get to them. They block certain websites, all videos, news, information about the mosque, about the shooting of the mosque. You can't watch them from New Zealand. So I talked to a friend of mine today. And I asked him, he lives in New Zealand. So what's going on there? Because I have to go to like Saudi Arabia websites and translate them, or Iceland or something, just to find any sort of credible news. Now, thank God we still have some credible news, independent journalism in Americans, and some of the things that are being brought up. But otherwise, things like 4chan, BitChute, Zero Hedge, KiwiFarms.net are all blocked completely from New Zealand. You can't get to the information in New Zealand. And so a friend of mine told me, well, he told me this, but this first. Facebook has removed 1.5 million videos, copies of the video of the attack. So nobody can watch them. If you have a copy and you put it up on your site or whatever it is, or you have it and you give it away, a flash drive or something, you get caught, 14 years in prison. They are not messing around. Yes? No, New Zealand. New Zealand. Oh, here, there's probably a copy somewhere. I actually can't tell you where I watched it, but somebody sent me a copy of it. It was unbelievable, but there's a lot of questions about it that we'll leave that for another time. Yeah. What's that? Can you share it? I'll bring it next week. I didn't have a problem with it. They can't. Well, they will censor us. Yeah. And my question is, why are they so adamant about hiding this stuff? I mean, there are crazy videos online. There are videos about the Holocaust and World War II, World War I. I'm like, how do they get this thing on YouTube and stuff like that? And they censor this one and not censor the other ones if they're going for censorship. So it led me to believe something's happening. By the way, in New Zealand, this is in New Zealand, if you wanted to go on certain websites that have information on this shooting, they ask you for your personal information. So you have to put in your name, your address, copying down your IP address. It was almost like if they wanted you to know that if they're going to show you something, they want to know who you are, just in case. The database that they're forming, it's unbelievable. I talked to Davey in Australia. It's almost the same thing. It's almost the same thing because the guy was an Australian, a 20-year-old, that guy was an Australian communist. He says, I see China as the closest thing to I believe, communist China. So you know exactly where he was. Radical videos are not censored. This one is. Many believe, and I think they're absolutely right, this attack is going to be used to usher in Sharia law like into New Zealand. We already have some of it. The confiscation of guns have begun in New Zealand. No doubt about it. People are so freaked out, and for many years are so brainwashed, that people are actually giving in their guns. They're turning them in. Says, we don't want violence here. And even though there's very little evidence of what happened, nobody really knows what happened up to this point. 50 people killed and stuff like that. This one is like, are they televising something? Are they going like, woohoo, we're going to do something so obvious, but when we do it, we're going to take your guns, your internet, we're going to censor you. Plus, we want to know everything about you. So we're going to censor you, but we're going to know everything about you as well. Now, this is what my friend has been telling me. Where am I? Okay. So you can't post anything about this. So if you go online in New Zealand, you can't post anything. If you do get through in some website, name and information, please. Address, everything. Confiscation of guns, 14 years of prison for possession of a video. This video, if you have it. What else? The Prime Minister wearing a hijab for a week, calling everybody on Friday to put it on. What else? Social. Okay, so news are completely blocked off. Even Sky News have been blocked off. It's a terrible thing, but the government is really using this to really censor people and become like a police state. Guns gone, internet gone, free speech gone. What's up, Daryl? Yes.
What is the story about?
You haven't heard anything? Okay, so that guy, last Thursday, here, Thursday time here, remember New Zealand is ahead, almost like a full day, walked into a mosque at Christchurch in New Zealand. That guy right there. He made a video. And he said, yeah, and all these things. He made a video. Was he on Facebook Live or something like that? Okay, Facebook Live. He made a video, walked in with the AR-15 and just started shooting at everybody in a mosque. Killed 49 people or so. Was it 2 mosques? Okay, were they next to each other? Is that what it was? Or okay, pretty much next to each other. And yeah, well, no, doing it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So lots of questions about the video and things like that. But then begun this outcry for Islam. This outcry for Islam. This they're the victims. Look what we've done to them, etc. Let's have compassion with them. Wear hijabs. And it's all been about Islam. They confiscated guns in New Zealand. Internet providers, internet service have been gone. Websites you can't reach, you can't get on. It has become a police state. According to my friend, this is the worst he's ever seen. It's literally a police state. You can't do certain things. They will arrest you if you talk about this stuff. They will arrest you if you post things online for it. They are so hypersensitive about this issue. And they're going to use it to ramp up the rhetoric that Islam is good, everybody else is bad. No. He was a communist. Remember I just said he was a communist? Like he was like the closest one to my ideology is communist China. And so he's complete, unbelievable. Nonetheless, this is going to be staged as something to ratchet up the rhetoric and take away the rights. And it's already happened in New Zealand. And like Daryl said, it could happen here. Another disaster like this could happen. And yes, Miss Rosemary? Oh, you didn't know about this yet? Okay. Yeah. It's like Arabic writings, like Muslim writings? Okay. More to come. This is not done yet. International Day of Hijab is Friday, so make sure you wear yours. Just kidding. But New Zealand, they're gonna make women wear it, and New Zealand has been so prepped for this in terms of brainwashing and liberal media and things like that, that they're just laying down, and nothing. I mean, it's pretty much. Well, I'll move on to the next because it's going to make more sense. The European Union, because of the problem with Islam, they're mandating now national biometric cards for every European citizen, 512 million. European Parliament's committee approved the new cards. They're biometric, they're chipped. It's not in your system yet, but it's in the card. Very similar to what France wanted to do. France wanted to do, and they still want to do it, an ID holding biometric database. So it's 60 million citizens in France, 512 in Europe. So if you're going to travel to Europe, you are now going to be part of a database. You don't have to be a citizen to travel there, but you're going to be part of a database that they'll have in Europe called the European Travel Database, something, it's an acronym for it. The citizens of Europe and the citizens of France will have their own biometric ID card with the chip. Biometric means they'll know hair color, they're not asking for DNA yet, but they'll have a fingerprint, retina scan, facial recognition, the whole works. Now, it's interesting that in Europe, this is kind of a funny one, but in Europe, 1/3 of Europeans, because of the problems that they're having, they were asked the question, this is the European population, and they said they would prefer an AI as a prime minister. They would prefer an artificial intelligence as a prime minister. And as we chuckle and laugh because of the failed Brexit situation and the failed Brussels situation, this is Europe, Brussels and England. Brexit didn't work, Brussels, terrible. They're tired of human leaders that say it's time for an AI to make those really tough decisions. Now, if you ever read the book, I think I talked about this like a year ago. It's called Life 3.0 by Max Tegmark. Max Tegmark from MIT. He proposes in that book a scenario where you would have an AI as a global leader. And he goes through a scenario What would happen if this AI is good? What would happen if the AI is a dictator? What would happen if the AI is a benevolent? He goes through all these scenarios, and he comes to one conclusion. He says, because AI can learn, and they could adapt to things, we can never think that an AI is going to be always good. Because look what happens to us, he says, speaking from a Judeo-Christian background. He's not a Christian, but he's saying, look what happened to us. If God created us according to Christians, look what happened to us. We turn against our Creator. These AI will turn against us. And he has this story in his book about what will happen if an AI becomes the global leader of the world. And he describes it. And there's one part when you read it, and he's almost describing Revelation 13. Now, I don't know if it was on purpose or not, where he says this AI can come in, put a global economy in place where everything is revolving around him. He can dictate who can buy, who can sell, who can trade, and things like that. It is quite fascinating that Europe, because of their failed state and their failed policies, is actually thinking about an AI as prime minister or leader, which goes in hand with, I believe, what the Bible says in the book of Revelation, that there will be an image that will be made, and this will be done by the false prophet, and it will animate the beast or animate the image of the beast, cause it to speak and to do signs and to do wonders. And if you don't worship the image, your life will be on the line. Your life will be on the line. That's what the book of Revelation says about the image of the beast. And many people wonder what the image is. I think we're seeing the precursors of what the image of the beast could be through the AI technology, and especially when you're calling it for a leader. By the way, this one's going to work better. The Major League Baseball is adopting now, I should say, facial recognition in all baseball parks. There used to be 9 of them, now 23 of them are going to be. If you go to a ball game, that's too bad. I'm going to have to miss some games now. But they're going to, if you want to know who's at the ballpark, you say, I'm going to know who's at the ballpark today. You're going to be able to know through clear technology, which is in the airports already. Atlanta, Detroit. They have clear technology, identification, facial recognition, and they'll be able to know. And Major League Baseball is going to try it out. First time they're going to try it out in a Major League Baseball park through clear technology is going to be at the All-Star Game, Cleveland, this year. And it's going to be, last time they had it was 1997. It's going to be now 2019. And they're going to, by the way, if you have Clear, if you have a subscription through Clear, like $15 a month, you can walk right into the stadium. No ticket. I mean, you would pay, but you don't need a personal ticket. Your face is the ticket. And you can walk right in. Miss all that. Who wants to wait around at an airport or a baseball game? Only $15. And if you bring your child under 18, it's free. That's pretty clear. That's pretty good. By the way, one of the things they say is we want to protect our children. We want a facial recognition of all your children. So bring them to the park because they'll be kept safe. Anyway, San Diego has been turned into a massive Chinese public surveillance. I don't have the video. I wish I brought it, but it was a little long. San Diego, parts of San Diego, near the pier, massive surveillance. In fact, nobody believed me, but on the video, I wish I would have brought it for that reason. Facial recognition, but also the lamppost have a microphone. They can listen to you. So they have wonderful LEDs. It's a beautiful area of San Diego near the pier, but it's all massive surveillance. Nobody can get away with anything there. You say, well, it's pretty safe. Well, you can't even get away with the conversation. You can even get away with just being there having ice cream or something. Massive surveillance, which is a prototypical Agenda 21 type city. That's what they want. Nobody owns anything there. Everything's rented, everything's leased, you can't own anything, but it's total surveillance. By the way, Bitcoin says, you know what? Our Bitcoin wallet is so great, we're going to put it in you. We're going to put it in you. And it's going to be safe because we're going to put an RFID crypto wallet, Bitcoin, for all those guys who don't want cash and they just want currency like Bitcoin wallet right in your hand. And body hacking and Bitcoin wallets, a big part of this. And body hacking has become very popular. Germany, UK, Sweden, many parts of Europe, coming to the States, Texas, California's had them. People that are biohacking literally their bodies. Federal court in Ohio, and this is switching gears to abortion. The battle in Ohio, court says, Planned Parenthood, you cannot perform abortions. We're going to defund you. This is in Ohio. The courts decided that the state may defund the abortion giant Planned Parenthood. So Planned Parenthood had, this happened a couple years ago through their governor, but now, because of it took almost 2 years. Planned Parenthood kept fighting on it. Now they have defunded it, and the state will no longer fund Planned Parenthood. They were trying to go through the 14th Amendment. You know, the idea of the 14th Amendment, they have the right to do it. Women have the right to do it. Well, the court says, well, the women have the right to do it. Planned Parenthood has no right to perform them here in Ohio. So they could defund them. And the battle, of course, will be in Washington. Washington has a battle right now because Washington's trying to have churches and nonprofit organizations, Christian organizations, pay for abortion if they offer a health plan. If they offer a health plan, they automatically enroll into an abortion plan, and they're making churches sign up. So if a church has enough employees and they sign them up for it, they'll be paying for abortion. The church says, no, we're not paying for abortions. The state says, yes, you are going to pay for abortions. There's a big battle in Washington over this. Switching gears, switching not too good of a gear, the explosion of drag queen stories in our nation. It caught my attention because 3 years ago, I saw one in San Francisco. I wasn't there live, but I happened to watch the news on it, and I couldn't believe it. I said, no, this can't be right. Drag queens reading stories to our kids in a library. Sure enough, it exploded all over the United States, and this is in Houston, Texas. And this is a video. And just listen to the parents' comments and then the news comments. I couldn't believe it that they were actually saying this stuff.
Heights Public Library today debuting a new children's story hour called Drag Queen Story Time.
Stephanie Whitfield sat in on the program designed to promote acceptance.
Acceptance.
Good morning, everybody.
The Heights Library had a special guest for story time.
Oh my goodness. Everyone is dressed so nice. I wish I would have worn a nice costume for y'all.
A visitor who usually performs for an older audience.
Right. My name is Blackberry. I am a bearded drag queen. That means I'm a lady with lots of facial hair. Do you want to touch my hair? No?
This program is geared towards kids 10 years old and younger.
I just wanted
They couldn't believe it
to expose
either.
them to things they don't get to see every day and want it to become the more normal and more accepted.
They've never seen a drag queen before, so I thought it was a good chance to see one.
But let's turn around and shake your butt. Shake them, shake them, shake them, shake them, shake them.
It was a first for this branch of the public library, too.
It is amazingly unique, and that is ultimately something that we strive for sure. We definitely, at this particular branch, but also at Houston Public Library, always want to promote diversity, understanding, inclusion, and fun.
Let me hear my cats.
Of course, a love of books, too. Blackberry says reading is a way to break the stigma of drag in queer culture.
That's the whole goal, is to make kids that aren't used to seeing something like me more comfortable to seeing it. So once they go into school later on in life and they see something that's totally different from them, instead of bullying, they're more accepting. 1, 2, 3, stinky cheese.
Now, there were definitely some kids who had to warm up to Blackberry, but that's the whole reason some parents went, to expose their children to something that they've never seen before, and most people seem to walk away having a good time.
Yeah, start them young, right?
Saw a lot of smiles there. Thanks, Stephanie.
Start them young. Get him ready. Now, not surprised, Houston. Many liberal agenda in Houston. By the way, some of these drag queens, this is the crazy part. Not alone, just alone, it's bizarre and bad in and of itself. But some of them are convicted sex offenders that are dressed up as drag queens, and they go into public libraries for kids, and they read the stuff to them. Now the kids know better. They're looking at them like Barbara said, like, what is that? Who is that? And the parents are like, hey, come on, let them expose to things. Get them while they're young. The communists said that. The Catholic Church said that. Get them while they're young. Well, I guess. Oh, yeah. No, you can't have that in Sharia law. No. Isn't that the weirdest thing? The only thing I could ever compare, something that bizarre, I read a story, and then I had to check it because I heard it before, and then I read it, and I said, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Hitler, when he came to power, the brown shirts, what they called the brown shirts before the SS squad and all that stuff, the brown shirts were his troop. Well, many of the brown shirts were homosexuals. The majority of the brown shirts, the original ones, were homosexual. And I forget the leader of the guy, Gore something, he was the leader. Underground movement, big homosexual community, and they were for Hitler. Now, Hitler didn't think too much about homosexuals. He didn't like them, but he used them to get to where he wanted. And so on the night, and you can look it up, it's called the Night of the Long Knives. The Night of the Long Knives. You ever heard of the Night of the Broken Glass, the Crystal Knock? Well, this was before then. The Night of the Long Knives. And one night, he had them all executed because he could not have homosexuals in his army. He used them to get into power. Once he got the power, unfortunately, the homosexuals did not stand a chance. Now, this story is true. It's history. I don't know why we don't learn from history, but in the homosexual community, they're being brought into the slaughter. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with the Sharia law, the agenda. I believe they are going to be one of the ones who will be tremendously persecuted when things become enforced, because they cannot coexist in a world like this, especially in a paradigm that they have. But you're right, Barbara. That is absolutely true. Why isn't the world paying attention to Christian persecution? And a couple of mosques, get shot up. And I'm not saying that that's not, bad enough, but it's just say it's the genocide of Christians. Nobody is talking about it. By the way, in New Zealand, Australia, floods of information on the Sharia law, on the shootings at the mosque. Nothing about China. Nothing about China. Nothing about the persecution of Christians in England. Or I have a list of different preachers and pastors who've been brought up to court because of their preaching, including, I showed you the video. The latest one was, what's his name? Oluwe Ilasami, the 64-year-old Nigerian who was preaching in the UK, in London, and was arrested for preaching the gospel there. And they arrested him, and he kept saying, don't take my Bible, don't take my Bible. And they arrested him, and they left him somewhere really far after they released him. But a list of Christian pastors and preachers who've been arrested in England, Christian England, the land of Spurgeon and Wesley and Whitefield, for preaching the gospel, but not one thing about Islam. Not one thing about Islam. Chowdhury, that Islamic imam in England who marches around different areas of England, and if they see a woman, a British woman dressed up in a skirt, they call them all kinds of names, prostitutes and all that, because they're not wearing the hijab or the full burqa. He says some foul things about Christians and women. No, not a thing. They can march around Manchester and Brigham and Birmingham and no problem. A pastor or a preacher goes to London and preaches the gospel, arrested. At least, that's the least that they could do. They arrest them. Sometimes they take them to places that they shouldn't take them to, and they release them much later with nothing on the back, nothing but their back on the clothing on their backs. Boko Haram destroying Christians in Nigeria, 120 Nigerian Christians. Murder in the media, silent. New Zealand mosque, everybody up in arms. And of course, this is predicted programming. This is predicted. This is what they'll do. Forget Christians. It's about Islam. It's about raising Islam. Why? Because they want to take away every right possible. Censorship, preaching the gospel, the way to defend yourself. But you know what? At the end of the day, and we're finished with this, Christian faith keeps growing. And it's something we need to be encouraged. I talked to, I email friends of mine, the missionaries in India. Great things happening in India, and hopefully, by God's grace, we'll be able to work with some of them in the future as India keeps growing. Largest population, well, it's going to be the largest population in the world, and yet many Christians are there, growing. Persecution keeps growing, but many Christians keep growing. And even our own. This is a picture of Philippines. This is the feeding program with Pastor Paul there and the kids, and the building that's being erected. And God's grace has been a part of that, and they're almost done. They'll be done by June, July, just about, before monsoon season, hopefully. But thank you, and thank you for the fellowship here and the gifts that we have been able to help among other churches that have helped them. But Pastor Paul is wonderful, and he's got about 80 to 100 kids that come in, feed them, hear the gospel, hear the word of the Lord all the time. Now they're going to have a building to meet, not just in his home. That's in his home right there. The building is right next to his home, and it's going to be completed pretty soon. Be doers of the word and not hearers only. Oh, the challenge for Christians today. It's so comfortable to sit in a Bible study, so comfortable to just hear it and go, I've done it. I've done Christianity. Instead of saying, now I'm going to do Christianity. I've heard it. It challenged me. It's gone into my heart. I pray that it sinks deep in your heart. Now the challenge is to go and do it. Live it at home. First place, live it at home. Live it in your fellowship. And then go out and be a light into the world. Sharing the gospel one-on-one. Sharing the gospel with others. Bringing people to Christ. Not only by our example of life, but also by the words we communicate. And growing as a Christian. Growing to love God more and not loving the world. Just like we talked about earlier in our first one. But that's the challenge for Christians in America. It's not persecution. Not yet. It's not the challenge that Islam raises in other countries. The real challenge is the world and the things of the world and the lust of the eyes and the flesh and the pride of life. Don't love that, John says. Love the Father. Let's pray. Lord, in Jesus' name, I'm thankful for my brothers and sisters. Be with them tonight, Lord, as they're challenged, Lord, by your word to grow and to be strengthened by your Spirit. Please, Lord, help them to recognize the time in which they live, in which we live, and go out of these doors with a heart full of truth, full of joy, full of the Spirit, a mouth ready to be used for your glory. Lord, please help us to be a light and salt in this world. We see the end coming. We see things that we have never seen before. And we're challenged, Lord, by the world and the spirit of Antichrist in the world, challenging us, promoting all kinds of wickedness and sin in this world, and false religions and Antichrist rising up. Lord, help us by your Spirit to rise up as well, to use our mouth and our lives to communicate that Jesus is the Messiah, the true and living one. And through him and by him only, and faith in him, we can have eternal life. We pray, Lord God, that you would make us bold and wise. Bold to communicate, Lord, but wise unto salvation. And all these things we ask in Jesus' name, amen. Do you have any questions?